Many are familiar with the principle that husband and wife are one. Under the Matrimonial Causes Act or the Marriage Act, husband and wife are regarded as one. All right. But in respect to owning of property, it is a different ball game entirely. All right. Now, as regards to owning of property, can a woman own property? Can a wife own property in Nigeria? Yes, a wife can own a property in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, a wife can either buy or sell her own property without recourse to the husband, without express permission or consent from the husband. That leads us to another principle of law known as presumption of advancement. Okay. Now, presumption of advancement is simply a situation whereby a man buys or acquire a land or house or any property in the name of the wife. All right. So what the law says is that if a man should buy a property in the name of his wife, it is presumed that he's buying that property in a bid to advance the wife's life. In other words, he's buying the property out of the love he has for the wife, and he's giving it to the wife. So until contrary is proven, okay, which means that for the man to claim that he's not giving it as a gift to his wife, he has to prove it based on the preponderance of evidence, and it is actually on the husband to prove. Now, a man who buys a property using the wife's name is presumed to be giving the property to the wife as a gift. Okay, so that's it. That's what the law says. But on the other hand, on the flip side, when a woman buys a property or gives the husband money to buy a property and the husband bought it in his own name, the law doesn't see it as an advancement of gift, or doesn't apply the presumption of advancement. It is rather the law sees it as the husband is buying the property and holding it in trust for the wife, which means that the husband is seen as a caretaker. He's only taking care of the property and holding it for the wife. So the law favors women in this regard more than it favors the men. All right. So there are times where parties contribute towards buying a particular property, and then they want to split. So how do they go about this? Let's say for instance, a wife contributed money to the husband in a bid to build a house, and then as time goes on, the marriage failed and they both want to go the separate ways. And then the property in question or the house in question was built or was bought in the name of the husband. So how can the wife prove that she actually contributed money to building or buying this house? Or rather, how can the wife prove that she actually contributed money or resources in terms of building this house that was bought in the man's own name? Okay, what the law says is that if as a wife or as a spouse, whether husband or wife, you contributed money in building of a house or buying a property, probably a joint contribution of money between the husband and the wife, and then the property is being placed or is being bought in one person's name, the other party who contributed money have to show records of that contribution. Okay, let me give you an illustration. Let's say you are contributing money to your wife. You are sending money to your husband to assist in building a house. Okay, under this, maybe you are making a transfer. Under the description, you can put, okay, transfer for cement. Understand? You can equally maybe write an agreement and make your husband to sign the agreement that this money is the money I actually brought for the completion of this house or for this project. Or if you are issuing your husband a receipt, you can as well tell your husband to sign on the receipt as an acknowledgement of transfer of funds specifically for that particular project. All right. So what the law is saying is that for you to be able to claim this, that you contributed money in terms of building a house with your husband, you have to show records, you have to show proof, and this proof must be a direct contribution, right? It must be a direct contribution, not a remote. It must be something, a direct financial contribution. Okay, such a person who is contributing or who wants to prove that he has contributed money towards the acquisition of a particular property, must prove that there is direct and substantial contribution. Mark the keyword direct and substantial. Those are the two major keywords that you should take note of. Okay. Now there are several cases in Nigeria that has showed that all these things happens in this country. Okay. Now as regards to a man buying property in the name of his wife, there are cases that have happened in Nigeria, and one of such cases was when a politician, the man held a position in the government, so he acquired some properties, and while acquiring the properties, he acquired them in the name of the wife. Unknown to him, he didn't know that one day the marriage would come to an end. And at the time the marriage came to an end, the wife sought for dissolution of the marriage and equally sought for those properties that were bought in her own name. Well, the court had no option than to, to grant those properties to the wife, because the husband bought those properties in the name of the wife, and the husband couldn't prove that he bought the property for himself. The court saw it as he bought the property as a gift or as an advancement to his wife's life. Okay, so now, but that doesn't mean you should not buy property in the name of your wife. You can still do that. People in holding public offices, they do that a lot. However, you have to buy it, and you have to prove that this property were bought not as a gift to your wife but for yourself, even though you bought it in the name of your wife. Now how do you do that? In the agreement you can state that, okay, but these are for lawyers though, but in the agreement you can state that you can put conditions there that this property reverts back to you if your wife should seek for divorce or dissolution of marriage, meaning that once the marriage ends, the property can come back to you. So in this instance, if the marriage wants to eventually comes to an end, maybe the wife wants to divorce and go scot-free with the property, with that agreement alone, the property that is divested back to you upon dissolution of marriage. Okay. Another way is simply to put that this property, your wife will hold this property for life, meaning that when your wife dies, the property becomes your own. There are other ways you can show that the property you are buying in your wife's name is actually for yourself and not a gift to your wife. Okay. So then, as regards to the contribution of resources together to buy a property between couples, there are avalanche of cases there. Okay, there are avalanche of cases there. There was a particular case where a lady, she contributed, I think, 6,000 naira. It happened many years ago. Many years ago, during the 90s, she contributed 6,000 naira in a bid to assist his husband in, building a house. And then as time went on, the husband, there was a marriage problems. Like there was fracas between the husband and wife, and the marriage broke down irretrievably. So now the wife was seeking for a part of the property because she contributed 6,000 naira in a bid to get that property erected. Unfortunately for her, she was unable to prove it. There was no recorded evidence that she contributed directly and substantially to the purchase of that property or to the building of that property. So the court didn't grant her a share to that property. So I know it might be sad, it might sound sad, but that's what the law entails. The law deals with substantial evidence. If you don't have any evidence, there's no way that judgment will be given in your favor. The law is the law, and that's what it is. Okay, that's what it is. And there's also a case whereby it happened many years ago, as usual. The lady in question contributed, I think 1,600 in a bid to get the building erected. Okay, she contributed it to the husband, and they got it erected. She was also there to supervise the work. Well, when the matter came to court, the court held that the contribution was substantial because she was able to prove that she contributed 1,600, and she was given, I think she was given 1/3 of that property, of that house. She was given 1/3 of that house. All right. So it all boils down to you proving, you having recorded evidence. All right. Don't just rely on testimonial or hearsay. You have to put it down. in record. Okay, you have to put it down.